welcome to Keep Your Head on Hockey. I'm your host, Jamie Young. We got J Dog in the house. Jay Bruce. How are you doing, Jay?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing today?
I'm good, man. Things are well. And you know what? It's the most wonderful time of the year. NHL's back, baby. Get pumped.
Whoop, whoop,
And,
whoop, whoop, whoop.
best matchup tonight, of course. We got the Habs. We're in their house tonight. The Leafs travel to Montreal and play here in just a short bit. So we're here to do a pregame show, the first of the year for you. Just straight up, Core 4, you guys are the best. Thanks so much for supporting us and streaming our shows in your group. And thanks, guys, for watching us. We appreciate it. If you are here or watching after the game or later on, smash that like button, share the show, and tell a friend. And when I say tell a friend, when you're watching the games this year, if you like our show, say, hey, you know what? I watch a show called Keep Your Head Up Hockey. You should definitely check it out. That's what I'm talking about. I really appreciate you doing that. So let's jump into it. Big matchup tonight. We've got the Leafs versus the Habs in kind of a ding-ding round one. Leafs beat them 3-0 last year in the regular season, and it's game one tonight. What are your thoughts on tonight, and how do you think the Leafs are going to do tonight, Jay?
I actually think it's going to be a spanking. I don't see Montreal. The years have gone by where they're beating the Leafs, I think, and it's going to move forward like it should. Leafs have a much more offensive team. The goaltending on both teams is yet to be determined, if you want my honest opinion. But I think that, I think they're pretty even as far as the goaltending is concerned. But when you consider the stars of the team and you look at Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, or however you say his name, Newhook, Doc, and Armia, Anderson as well, Dvorak and Boulay, fine. All those guys are good players. Anderson, I do like. I kind of wish he was on the Leafs, but he's went down a little bit. Doc is somebody to look at. I think he's going to have a breakout year. Suzuki, great player, but he's not a powerhouse player. I find him actually like he's not as good as Marner, but he's kind of the similar player. He's not that physical. He plays physical every once in a while. Caulfield, he's never gonna. I'm surprised he's a first line player. I know he's a good player. But you come playoffs, you look at the size of these guys, that's a small team in the up front. It's too small up front, and they're going to get dominated, and I think they're going to get dominated tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the Cole, Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky line, like that's a tiny line. There's not a lot of big guys compared to the Leafs forwards on that front line. And then Newhook, Doc, and Armani, you're moving up in size a little bit. They're still pretty tiny.
Yeah.
But what the Leafs do well, though, I think, is this new kind of play by Berube, dump and chase. I think that'll work really well against this setup here that Montreal has. Montreal had a terrible year last year. Come on, let's be honest. One of the worst teams in the NHL. So I think that they're still in that rebuild. It's going to take some time, and unfortunately, Laine being out as well is going to hurt them. I think Matheson and Gould and Hudson. Oh boy, this Hudson kid. Let's talk about him briefly. Hudson, man, that guy can move the puck better than any defenseman I've seen in quite some time. Like I saw a couple of flip passes that some people on a breakaway. I was just like, how the heck did this guy even come up with that? And his ability to do that is quite talented. I think he's got the full package. What do you think about Hudson?
I've only seen him play twice. I didn't watch a lot of Montreal games last year. I only watched the one preseason game this year. I thought he was reasonably good. I didn't see anything standing out, but I didn't see anything bad. He seemed to be a solid guy. But the one thing I did notice is he doesn't cover the space as fast as like Savard. Savard's a little quicker, I found. And I'm not too sure what's going to go on with this Barron kid. I thought he got injured. I wasn't too sure. I thought he might have been hurt. So I wasn't sure if he was actually starting tonight. So I don't know if this is bang on because I thought
he's not on the injury list, so he may be playing tonight. But Barron looks right there. Barron right there.
Yeah, I guess he's there.
Starting tonight. Yeah, he's starting tonight.
Okay.
But Yeah, I think he looks great. I think Hudson's a really good addition and be a pretty good rookie this year. Definitely can see him putting up some points on the power play. But yeah, there's your Habs team kind of in a brief outlook by the keeper head of hockey. This Arbor Sheriff ex Netcash, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but yeah, he's saying that he's the sheriff and he's going to be the enforcer of the league. I think it's complete bullshit. The guy can't even hold a candle to a guy named Reeves on our team. I hope that we see a little bit of clash with him tonight. But time will tell. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Let's then now talk about the Leafs and their opening lines for the year. And I'll get those pulled up right now. I think it looks good. I think we've made some really good additions this year, and our team is much bigger than it was last year and stronger. What do you think about the first line tonight? Nyes and Matthews and Marner. What do you think about
It's a rocking line. You got Nyes, who doesn't mind going in the dirty spots and picking up the puck. Marner, during the regular season, we all know is a great player. He's one of the best in the league. And I think with a guy like Nyes, who's willing to go in and get the puck, Marner, I have to say, is actually good at digging out the puck. And Matthews is going to sit in his spot. He's kind of like the American version of OV. Likes to sit on that one side. However, in his own end, I think he's probably the best guy on the team. He's got more takeaways than anybody else, I think, in the NHL. I know he's the most on the team, but as far as last year's concerned, he plays both ends of the ice very well. We all know what he can do offensively. I just think that this line and the next line, that what they really need to do is focus on keeping the puck out of their own end. And like, obviously they're going to score, 3 goals a game minimum. Unless they're playing a really tough team physically, somebody like Vegas or maybe actually, Vegas is probably the best one to talk about. Probably Smashville as well. But I think if these guys can keep the puck out of their own end, keep the play from the blue line out, then they're going to be fine. I think that the bottom 6 is actually a really good bottom 6. So I think, a lot of people don't have any thoughts on Reeves, but you know what? At the end of the year last year, after he had sat for a while, he actually played really well, and not just the physical part of the game. He actually, when he was in the offensive zone, he rode the puck in the corners. He knew he wasn't the guy to go scoring goals, so he was wasting time, making sure his team got lots of time to breathe, have shut off a few seconds in the offensive zone, keep the puck down there, make sure that the puck's not in his own end and getting scored on. And I think they did pretty well. Playoffs, different story a little bit, but like he wasn't in there every game either, right? So I think this Lorentz kid's going to be all right. Holmberg, he's a pretty good player. Robertson, I think, is going to be. This is the beauty part of the bottom 6. Robertson and Pacioretty, I think,
it? It'll be great.
I think it's going to be goals galore.
Yeah, I really think so. Robertson's got to step it up, and he's had a lot of opportunity to do so. But I think that this year is going to be his year. It's basically a contract year, right? It's we signed him for 1 year, and hopefully he can get it done this year and get as much goals and really show that he's as good as his brother, or at least half as good as his brother. I think he's got talent. I think he's a great player. We'll see what happens tonight and future games. But I love that lineup with Pacioretty and him in Holmberg. I think it's gonna be a great third line. But also too, the second line too. I really like Domi playing with Tavares and Nylander, right? Like Domi's that kind of guy that likes to get in the middle of everything and get dirty and get in the corners and really work for that puck. And I think he'll be that guy to get Nylander that puck, to get him a lot more opportunities than he had last year. And I hope that Nylander has the start that he did last year. Just come out of the gate just firing and we'll see. But we'll move on to the defense here for the Leafs, because boy, oh boy, I think they did some great additions this year and a lot of work. This first line, Riley and Tanev, like I really think that that's going to work well. And then as well, second line, Ekman Larson and McCabe. That second line, big boys on that second line, and Benoit and Timmins to round it out. But Tanev and Riley, I really like that. I like how they played in the preseason, and time will tell. But I really like this back end. I really think that's improved tremendously with the additions of Larkman and Tanev. Or sorry, Ekman Larson and Tanev. What are your thoughts, Jay? Because boy, oh boy, we look a lot better on the blue line this year than same time as last year. Way better.
The only one here that I'm not sure about is Timmins. Everybody else I think McCabe is exactly what they needed. Last year he added some toughness, which okay, he took a couple of stupid penalties, but you hear all the hate, right? Like that's what I hate about. That's what I don't like about. Everybody talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. The jealousy is crazy. A lot of our fans are assholes. There's no question. But you know what? After you've been beaten up and you listen to all the crap for a while, you tend to carry a little bit of a grudge every once in a while. You tend to be a little bit more angry. You haven't won since 67. I mean, I'm 55. I haven't seen a cup in my life. So, I understand some of us being a little bit assholes. But in saying that, I think that since I can remember, I don't remember about a defensive core this good since I can remember. And we're going back to Boris Helming back. That's how far back I remember. Ian Turnbull, I remember him. We're going back a long ways. I don't remember a better core of defense. Even when Calverley played, I think that Calverley and Riley were similar type players. There's just with this between the two big ones. Obviously, you see, three, because Benoit was a beautiful addition last year. He's going to turn. I think he's going to be even better this year. I think he's going to be more physical because he has that. He was the only physical defenseman that they had last year. There was no physical defenseman because even Edmondson, as big as he wasn't playing super physical, which is why he's not here anymore. He was expected when he played for everybody else that he was playing for, which including Montreal, he played a lot more physical. He wasn't playing that physical last year. As much as I enjoyed him, he wasn't that physical. McCabe takes that spot. Benoit takes that spot. Timmins can be physical. And Tanev is a fucking wrecking machine if he wants to be. So I don't see any real problems here. You've got size. Benoit's 6'3", I think. McCabe's not that tall. I think he's like 6'1" or something. Tanev's 6'2" or 6'3". Timmins is fairly tall as well. Riley, I think he's like 6'1" or 6'2". But Ekman Larson's not that tall, though. I think he's like 6 foot or 6'1" at the most. 6 foot, I think. But anyway, they're still all 6 feet or bigger. They're going to close a lot of space, and they all have speed. They all have good speed.
Yeah, way better than last year. This time, our back end looks amazing, and quite happy about it. We'll move on to the power play. We'll keep the show going, and we'll talk about the power play. I love this setup here with Marner, Tavares, Nylander, and Riley, and then Matthews on the left point. I really like it. Tavares can win a lot of faceoffs, and I find that when we need a face-off win, he's the guy to go to. He's the most experienced, and can get that puck back. And who's he going to throw it back to? He's going to throw it back to Riley or Matthews. And I think it's perfect. It goes to Riley. He's going to be that setup guy, right? Looking for Matthews or Nylander. But if it goes right back to Matthews, there's a shot on that immediately, right? So I just love that. And we'll have Mitch and Tavares crashing the net. Nylander probably looking for that rebound off of that Matthews shot. But I love this first line power play unit. And we'll jump to the second line and get your thoughts after. But nice Domi in the middle and Pacioretty. I like this as well. I really do. I almost wanted to see kind of a second line, second power play unit like the one up here, like the Tavares, Domi, and Nylander. But I like the mixture. We'll see how it works. I'm not a huge fan of the second power play unit, but I think that first line is going to get most of our goals. What are your thoughts overall on the power play units that Berube's come up with so far?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather see Domi, Nylander, and Matthews up front, and actually Tanev has a bullet. He's got a big shot. He can skate. He can still play physical because when you have that opportunity you want the other team to pay. If you can't score, you still want them to play physically. You want them to have nothing left. Paul Maurice last year in the Stanley Cup final, the first thing he said in the first game again, it was against Boston. And in the first game against Boston, he says, I don't care about goals. Pound the shit out of their defense so they have nothing left in game 7. So I think having or pound the shit out of their team, and so they have nothing left in game 7. And that's exactly what happened. They end up pounding the crap out of them physically. And when does Boston ever get physically beaten? Rare. Very rare. Never. There's only 3 teams that give them a hard time really physically. That's Nashville, Vegas, and of course Florida. And those are the only 3 teams that can really give them a beating physically. And that we need to do that as well. We need to think about those things. And on the power play, as far as I'm concerned, I think I want on the first power play, I want some physicality as well as scoring. So I like sticking with the 4 defenders, or with the 4 defenders. With the 5 normal, like the regular normal setup, with 2 defenders and 3 forwards. And then on the second power play, I would agree with something like that. This on the number 2. And the reason being, if they haven't scored already in the first little bit, it is good to bring somebody else out that's a little bit more skilled on the second power play. 2 minutes, Matthews can play probably 2 shifts. You could probably double shift him on the power play. He's in good shape. I would do that every once in a while, but with Pacioretty there, I have to say, he may not be the fastest guy, but if you're in the opposing team's end, he doesn't have to skate that hard, and he can score. I think this could be a renewal for him for sure, as far as boosting his career. I think this year is going to be great for him. I think power play is going to be where he's going to shine a lot, and I think there's going to be a lot of goals scored by this team anyway. But and the other teams are going to take a lot of penalties against this team. It's fast. It's a fast team. When John Tavares is your slowest fucking player up front, the team's fast.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, we were 24% last year for power play, 7th in the league, and I think that number is going to go up. I can say maybe 1 out of 3, hopefully, around that 33%. Would be amazing for this group to come out with. When we get a power play, we should be scoring goals. So that's the projected lineups for tonight. We'll talk about goaltenders, though. I haven't talked about them yet. We've got a down and out guy. Wall's already hurt. So tonight it'll be our new guy from Florida, which is kind of exciting, having Anthony Stolarz jump into the mix there already. But yeah, we've got Woll down day to day with an injury. Stolarz coming in, and we'll see what he can do. He didn't have a ton of starts last year because obviously with Bobrovsky in Florida, he's the number 1 guy, of course, right? But he's a big goaltender, and I like him. I like him a lot. I really, really do. I think that he's going to have a heck of a year for our boys. I think he's going to step it up and have a really, really good year. We'll see though. We'll see. What are your thoughts on Stolarz and having him come in?
Well, Stolarz, I think he's a good goalie. I think he's a starting goalie on a lot of teams. I think there's no problem here. He did get a lot of starts, like you said. But here's the thing, Jamie. No matter who we have in net, we're not going to go through what we went through last year, and we still ended up making the playoffs. Unfortunately, Sammy was absolutely horrible last year for probably 35 games. He was horrible for 35 games. That's not true. He was horrible for 20 games. He was bad for 15 games. And he was like mediocre for maybe even, like the rest. He had a couple of really good games where he was phenomenal. There's no question he stole a couple of games, but for the most part, he was junk. And we didn't get what we deserved, especially for what we paid for him. And I think just in these 2 alone, Wall excluded, I think these 2 guys here, I think in the end, I think this is our tandem, if you want my honest opinion. And here's the reason being. I think these 2 are plenty good enough. I think they're actually a really good tandem. Dennis Hildeby has some time to grow if he's not the starting guy, but I still think he's good enough to be in the NHL. He's big enough. He's fast. He covers the net well. A lot of like very little movement when that's the only thing he's got to work on. He's better now than he was last year, from what I'm hearing. There's a lot less movement back to back or side to side. Sorry. And the beauty part is that I think that Stolarz has the confidence to be a number one goalie. Wall is worth something, but this is a couple injuries he's had already, and I think that somebody else, if we're smart here, we can actually make our team a little bit better with another trade. I think I'm calling this at the start of the year. Wall gone. These two are it, and
All right.
Hildeby by the end of the year will be the number one goalie.
Wow, I love the thoughts. You know what? And I love Hildeby. I really do. He had a couple great starts for us last year, and I was super impressed. And I've seen him in the AHL. Had a great year in the AHL. I agree with you 100%, Jay. He's going to be a great goaltender. Will he be number one? If he comes in and he gets a couple shutouts in a row, why not go with a hot hand, right? Or somebody that's playing really well. So I agree with that. We will see though. Time will tell. But that's your starting goaltenders for the Leafs. I will just briefly bring up who's playing for the Habs tonight. It's going to be Samuel Montembeault. They're back in there. Is Caden Primo, but Montembeault will get the start. I really don't care who's in net for them tonight. Reason being, I just think that we're going to dominate this game tonight. I really think it's going to be all Leafs. We're going to come out and be firing at all cylinders. If they don't, I will eat my words and we'll have some work to do. But I really think that we're going to play great, and it'll be our number one squad out there tonight. See, keys to success. If we're going to get that done tonight, Jay, what do the Leafs have to do well? Game in, game out. Let's talk about it as a whole, too. But especially against the Habs, what do they got to do to win tonight?
Well, obviously keep the puck out of their net. But I would say that not making mistakes. This has been the killer of the Leafs for years against Montreal. They make bad mistakes, and Montreal, for some reason, it's like when they play the Leafs, it's like their Stanley Cup. It's like they get up for every game against the Leafs. I've never seen it anywhere else. That Boston does the same thing, I guess. I shouldn't say they haven't done it. I haven't seen it anywhere else. But Boston and Montreal play Toronto better than anybody else. They always have. And I think that the biggest problem is the Leafs need to be calm. They need to be relaxed. They know they need to win against these guys, and they need to start the season off proper with a win. But that they still have to just do the basics right. Stick to the basics in the first game of the season. Don't be too nervous. Don't be too. They got a pretty I'll say veteran team now. There's not a lot of young guys on the team. There's a couple, but the team's got, everybody's pretty much played a year in the NHL. So they know what to expect. It shouldn't be, other than first game jitters a little bit, after the first shift, you should be all right. Second shift, it should be better, but keep the puck out of your own end. Obviously is the big deal. But do the things proper. Don't make stupid passes. Don't be fancy. That's the one thing Marner and I'll say, mostly just Marner, Willie too, but Willie and Marner have to make good passes, not being too fancy, and if you are the guy that fucks up, you need to be the first guy back, and that's the thing. That's one of the biggest things I found that even in the playoffs last year, when they fucked up, they weren't the first guy back. It wasn't, you've seen it maybe once or twice, but there was a lot of fuck ups. There was a lot of passes that were errant passes, and they need to keep it simple, not so fancy. They got enough skill already.
My family's getting home. If ever anybody can hear, my kids are just getting home with the wife. But anyway, my keys to success for the game tonight is to do what Berube has instilled in them in the offseason and in their practices. Stop that puck. Stop carrying it in. Get it deep. Bang and crash. Two guys on the puck, one in front of the net. Simple it, dumb it down, and embrace that dumb it down scenario and system. Because I think that if they do that well, they're going to get a lot more wins than they did last year. And then, we'll see what happens. I know. Call me crazy. But what you saw last year, those Leafs that that carry the puck and stuff. No, dumb it down, dump the puck in, get deep, crash and bang, and we'll see how that approach works. And that's really what Berube is kind of trying to instill in these boys. Is my thought. But we'll see. The time will tell, man. That will be the show, I think. Any last thoughts, J Doc?
Well, I'm just excited to see the season starting. I'm pretty happy that the team's looking good, and I think that they have. There's still I still think there's like one or two little adjustments that they can make, and I think it's a Stanley Cup team. But again, time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Get some beers, get the boys and girls ready, get the TV on, crank it up. It's hockey night in Canada, the first one tonight in the
Cheers.
Bell Center. Leafs versus Habs. Let's go, Leafs! It's going to be a great game. As always, big thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Keep your head up as always, and we'll see you next time. Me, J Dog, Jamie Young, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Keep your head up. See you next time.